All right, here we go. Friday night. The guys are here. Willie, before he heads to California, I know Dave's got a vacation coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit. So Koken, Willie, Cofield. There's a lot of stuff we can get into. I want to talk about the vacations coming up, but I'll start out with you, Dave. What in God's name, as I'm watching the Canadians just get freaking run by the Lightning, would the Lightning have destroyed the Knights, or are the Knights sitting at home right now going, God damn it, man, we freaking blew it?
Well, I think both.
Yeah.
Canadians are a pretty good team. No question about that. But Price seems to have worn out, which is not surprising. I mean, he's played an awful lot of hockey. And Tampa Bay is just really good. I mean, the Canadians played very well in game 2 and lost. They played very well in the first period tonight and went off the ice down 2-1. It was like, this team's in trouble. And I think we got one game left, and that's probably it.
What do you think, Willie?
Yeah, I think that this whole time, every time we get in a Zoom with DeBoer, it's funny because I think back to all the post game pressures, or anytime he was somewhat pressed about something, he'd say, well, we made it through the Minnesota series. We weren't supposed to, win. And then when he'd bring up the Avalanche, he'd always throw in the phrase, and we got through the best team in hockey. And there was a certain point during the conference finals where I think everybody sort of got the idea that the bottom line is the Tampa Bay Lightning were the best team in hockey, and they've been showing that throughout the playoffs. So I don't think there's any team that was going to stand a chance based off what we're seeing. As far as the Canadians, I think they're as good as advertised. I just think that Tampa Bay, kept hearing, well, Vegas just can't. The pucks aren't finding their way in the back of the net. No, Vegas couldn't find the puck into the net, and Tampa Bay could against Price, and that's just it. I mean, they have the personnel. They're playing fantastic. They're the defending Stanley Cup champs, and the Canadians outplayed the Golden Knights is the bottom line. And whether the Golden Knights are kicking themselves or not, they played well at times. They may have outshot the Canadians, whatever the case is, but Montreal shut them down. They found ways to neutralize and sort of stymie what the Golden Knights threw at them, and Price outplayed, whether it was Leonard or Fleury. And the bottom line is Tampa Bay is just kicking the shit out of everybody.
Dave, agree?
Yeah, I mean, once Kucherov got back on the ice after missing the whole regular season, I mean, that's huge. He's one of the best players in the league, and they have hit their stride at the right time. They're better than everybody right now.
Yeah, that's true. That you can't win championships with the lousy power play, but you know what? The Golden Knights, that's not an excuse, because the Golden Knights power play has sucked since early April. So they're like, there was 15 for some god awful percentage ever since 14% power play since April. So that's not an excuse.
They got outplayed. That's as simple as that.
Yeah. They've been playing with a lousy power play. So, and they made it as far as they did. Montreal just outplayed.
It was still a successful season. I understand, only one team wins, so for everybody else it's a failure. But they gave it a good run, and they did beat Colorado, and they just ran out of gas at that point, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and what is this, the 4th season? 3 times they've been to the conference finals. 1 time they've been to the Stanley Cup final. I mean, were they supposed to do this? If in 2016 we said, well, in Las Vegas, you're going to have an NHL team, and in the first 4 seasons, here's what's going to happen, fans would line up for that. Now everybody's bitching because they haven't won it yet. So I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen once free agency starts, and who's going to end up where, and the goalie situation, and if they're gonna make a run at to sort of bolster that center depth. It'll be an interesting offseason again with this team. And let's not forget that they'll be back to normal next year with the division realignments, back to normal. Teams getting back into where they're normally playing. So Golden Knights in Colorado dominated the West Division that everybody, there were haters that said, "Oh, that's the worst division in the league," and then Golden Knights in Vegas or the Golden Knights and Avalanche finished with the league's best record. So, well, maybe they are the best, and neither one of them made it. So,
doesn't the fact that they're going back to the regular division next year, I feel like they could be fooled again with a great regular season and not be what they need to be in the playoffs. Arguably, the division next year could be worse.
I'm not sure why would it be worse?
Because the teams that are coming back aren't guaranteed to be good, and what they're losing the Avs and the Wild. So I'm saying the Pacific may be the easiest division to win of all the divisions, and I fear that VGK could go through the whole season like, hey, we rolled up 100 and whatever 8 points, yay, and then it's the same bullshit in the playoffs where they're stagnant offensively.
No, because they're not just going to be playing the Pacific Division next year. They're going to be playing everybody.
I get it.
So they got to be battle tested, and they're going to be playing everybody. So we're going to get
at the bottom of the division. Come on, the Kraken are not going to. Maybe the Kraken surprise people and they can be on the edge of the playoffs. But the Kings slightly better. The Ducks might not be any good. I don't know. I don't look at the season as a failure, Dave. I look at it as, hey, this is a lesson. This is back-to-back years where you got really stymied in the playoffs offensively. They got to make some changes.
Yeah,
not saying get rid of everybody, but they got to make some changes so they're more playoff ready. And if that means trading, like not having both goaltenders, if that means not finishing with 106 points in the regular season and finishing with 10 less points, but having a team that's more dangerous and more versatile in the playoffs, I'll take that.
The regular season is window dressing in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. Okay, there's no home ice advantage means less in the NHL than any other sport. So having a great regular season record is not particularly important. The team that was the worst team to make the playoffs in points is still playing. They're going to get knocked out in the next game probably, but the Canadians were 16th out of 16 playoff teams. And that's the NHL. It's not the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last either. The idea in the regular season is manage your minutes and just get to the playoffs. Just get to the playoffs. That's it.
That's it. If you look back, how many teams have gone to the Stanley Cup final that that came in as the 6th seed, the 7th seed, the 5 seed, and they were playing right, they were playing good at the right time, and they came in with the hot goaltender, and that's exactly what Montreal did. And from there, I mean, look at what St. Louis did, right? A couple of years ago.
Oh yeah,
they were in dead. They were the worst team in the league in January. Switched goaltenders from what's his name, Jake Allen to Jordan Binnington, and they made that run and they won the Stanley Cup. So I mean, you don't have to be the best team. When was the last time the President's Trophy winner won the whole thing? Was it 2012? What is it? 9 years ago. So having the best record, having the most points doesn't mean shit.
Yep.
Like Dave said, you get through the regular season healthy, and you come in with the hot goaltender, and you're playing with the right chemistry at the right time, and that's what matters in NHL.
All right, so move number one, I want to keep Alec Martinez as long as the price is right. I want to move on Riley Smith. He's in the last year's contract.
I would agree with that. And I would say if there's any one defenseman, only because of the value at this point, it would have, if you're going to keep Martinez, then it has to be Theodore. Only because you have to get value for giving up. I don't think that you're going to get as much as you would if you're giving up McNabb or, one of the younger guys. I think you have to get the utmost, value for if you're giving up a defenseman and if you're keeping Martinez. So, the thing is Alec Martinez, broken foot and all, the Warrior tag, the block shots, he's also older. So if you're going to continue with this, the win now attitude, and everybody's getting older, and you keep Martinez, if you want to build for the future, you want to hold on to somebody, Theodore. I mean, he just finished 5th in the voting for the Norris. So it's
No,
a matter of who,
I don't want to move Theodore. He's one of the building blocks, so I'm good with that. And then the other one is,
I agree with Riley Smith.
Yeah.
I agree with that. If there's
yeah. And I hate to break up that line, but it's time you got to get better. And then I'll throw this one at you, Dave. The more I thought about it this week, if they're getting rid of one of the goalies, I actually think they should keep Fleury, sign him to another year, go with Fleury for 2 years. Logan Thompson sounds like he's ready. He's the future. I think you can get a lot more for Leonard with time left on his deal. I trade Leonard.
I can agree with that.
I hate the notion of going out on the market with Marc-Andre Fleury, the Vezina winner, who's still very athletic at his age. He stays in great shape. Frankly, he's probably a little more durable than Leonard. I don't know what the deal is with Leonard on concussions. I don't even want to speculate. I don't want to be mean on that. But I don't want to. To me, just giving away Marc-Andre Fleury is absurd.
Yeah, I've got no problem with that. To be honest, I haven't thought a lot about what they should do between now and next year. Season's still going, so I can't really contribute much. But I have no problem with keeping Fleury. He's still pretty good.
What do you think, Willie? It would be a bold move to keep the old guy and let the young guy who's under contract, a long contract, go.
Yeah, well, this is not your normal old guy. For me personally, you nailed it on the head in terms of taking care of his body. That's one thing when we were allowed in the locker rooms that Fleury and I have had a lot of conversations about, and that's rest and recovery and the process this guy goes through with the muscle recovery, with the cupping therapist and the massage therapist and the stretching and the off-season training. I mean, this dude puts in the work. And I'm not saying that Leonard's not in shape and he doesn't do whatever he needs to do to recover. But when you have a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury, who's, on the brink of breaking more records, and he shattered a ton, or he's moved up the ladder, I should say, this year with a ton of records, he's doing something right. He's got 3 rings. No, he wasn't the starter in a couple of them, but he's been an integral part of a lot of successful teams, and he's seen a lot. And to come off a year that he had, I think a lot of it had to do with coming off the year that his father died. I think a lot of it had to do with losing the starting position, and it drove him and it motivated him. And he said that he's told a couple of reporters that, and down the stretch, he's come out publicly and said what's driven him. So, he wants to stay here. He wants to retire. He knows what it's going to take to continue to be that starting guy. Are they going to need a back and forth like they did this past year? No, it worked to their benefit. But again, we go back to trade value, and you got to get the most for your trade value. And I don't think that you get as much as you do for Leonard as you would for Fleury, because you're taking on a big contract. Yeah. So the Golden Knights retain $1 or $2 million, but you're getting a 36-year-old, $5 million. Maybe you're paying for him when they could get a younger goaltender that they know Leonard's capable of staying longer. So I have no problem with keeping Fleury. I do think that they need to split them up and get rid of one of them and use that money to get some center depth.
They're going to do. That's a given. So,
yeah.
I mean, DeBoer basically has already said we're not going to have both of these guys next year. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that I think is a given. One of them is gone.
Who they go after, I have no clue. I don't know if they're going to go after this Eichel guy, this Jack Eichel from Buffalo. I don't know if they're going to jump in them sweepstakes, and I don't know if they need to. I'll go back to something that Dave and I talked about on this show at the trade deadline of this past season. We talked about how Vegas, both of us said, how Vegas has always jumped in first 3 years leading up to this 4th trade deadline, and they've made a splash. And Dave and I both said they're not going to make as big a headline as they did the previous 3 years. They're just going to go out and get somebody that's good enough to bolster in some way, shape, or form. And they got Janmark, and the guy did a decent job. He did what he was supposed to do for his role. And I think that that's what they need to continue to focus on rather than getting a big star. They got big stars. You know what I'm saying? They have Mark Stone and Pat Chiaretti. They have the original misfit line. They need to go find someone that
Well,
just fits
okay.
right in.
I will say this. I think one thing you're going to see them focus on, they're going to want to get somebody who's really good in the power play. And
Yeah.
Eichel is very good in the power play. So we'll see.
But he's costly too. He's going to be
Well,
costly.
yeah, sure.
Price.
Well, I mean, he's also got.
He's also 20. By the way, he's 24, but he's got a 10-year, $80 million deal. I think
He's
that's
also
right.
he's also a guy with
880. Sorry.
his ceiling is extraordinarily high. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sell the farm for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just Mayor of Vegas is saying Flower to Seattle. First of all, look, here's the problem with, like I said, with trading Fleury. I think his value is still going to be very low. You're going to give a guy to a competitor where you may not want him to go. I don't think the organization will want to F over Fleury, right, Dave? Like they're gonna do him some favors and put him somewhere he wants to go. And then if that turns out to be like, you got a guy who still has a lot of time, the Vezina winner, and you're like, yeah, just take him because that's where he wants to go. It seems like a lose-lose on so many fronts.
Yeah, the more I think about it, I think he's going to stay, and I think Leonard's probably going to go.
The only place that I can see him going in any way, shape, or form if that he would agree to, and he's got a 10-team no trade. I believe he's got a list of 10 teams. The only place that I can see him saying, okay, I want to retire in Vegas. This is my home now. It'd be the only place I can see him wanting to go back to or agreeing to at some point would be Pittsburgh. So that way he can retire. He's got business interests there. He's got the Boys and Girls Club that he's very invested in. I believe he may still have some property there. But the bottom line is that's the community he knows that he can go and retire in and feel somewhat at home and start back over again. I mean, he's going to be beloved and welcomed wherever he goes. But for him to just go and feel comfortable and jumping right back into it, I would think it's going to be Pittsburgh. But I don't think he wants to go anywhere. And let's not forget that last year, Bill Foley said that he didn't want to get rid of Fleury. So he was okay with having both goalies, but he wanted Fleury. So, let's not forget who owns the team. And I'm sure that he's going to have something to say about that.
He's also still the most popular guy on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to get a statue.
I'm not talking about just with the fans. His teammates love him.
Absolutely.
No, I think it makes sense to keep him.
Well, we're in agreement. Not everyone who roots for the Golden Knights will be in agreement on who goes and who stays. There will be a strong reaction for whichever one goes. There's going to be a lot of angry people. So, which I don't blame people. You got two great goalies. It's not an easy decision to make.
I don't think that there's going to be a lot of that necessarily angry people. I think there'll be widespread angry people if Fleury is the guy. I just think that there's going to be people that are going to question and wonder if Leonard goes. There's not going to be that angry.
If it's Fleury who goes, there's going to be outrage, anger, and it ain't gonna end. Like Leonard has to win a Stanley Cup. Anything short of a Stanley Cup, you're never going to hear the goddamn end of it from the Fleury fans.
No. I agree with that. I'm saying, but with Leonard, I don't think there's going to be anger. I think there's just going to be like, well, I hope they made the right move type of talk. I don't think it'll be. It won't be as equal. It ain't going to be no equal anger. If they get rid of Fleury, this town will be in. I mean, it'll be insane.
This is a great question. I don't know. I would hope, Professor McPhee and GM KM have some kind of plan, even though they're on the outside looking in, which, by the way, is what an unbelievable benefit in coming into the league and Foley forging that part of the agreement. I'll tell you right now, I bet you 80% of hockey fans around the league don't realize that VGK is not part of this. They're already like this. The first expansion draft they're going to go crazy when they learn that the Golden Knights are exempt and they lose no one.
Yeah, it'll be that'll be fun to see if they can finagle their way into some way or another in grabbing somebody from that or working their way into some sort of triangle. Because that's definitely a possibility, obviously. But
that's gonna be fun.
Not having to make anybody available for this one.
July July 21st, so we're 19 days away from the expansion draft. And then I think the actual draft is the 23rd. I'll run this by you guys. I assume it's going to be a positive response. ESPN is that's when they jump on board. They might jump on board a little bit earlier, but the ESPN is going to have the expansion draft and the draft, which I think, people are going to realize like how much they've been missing out on with NBC covering hockey.
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And they already released the list of personalities on ESPN. It's tremendous. They have great play-by-play people. They've got some of the biggest names in terms of analysts. They got hardcore hockey experts. They got a diversity. They got women. I'm excited, man. I think ESPN is going to jump in. You can already see it. They're going to jump in feet first and really do a great job for the NHL.
Hope so.
Let me ask you guys this, because you guys are both, far more knowledgeable than I am when it comes to broadcast, whether it's radio, TV. But how much do you think that the NHL knew how great ESPN was going to be, and that's why we somewhat saw some of that? They allowed some of that coverage to be split, because that USA Network, as hard as they tried, there was some shitty coverage. There was some broadcast glitches. It just didn't have that oomph. And I'm just wondering if there was behind the scenes a little, let's put it out there and pull a little away from NBC and sort of, I don't know, just conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory.
Are you suggesting they sabotage their own product so that when ESPN is on board, it's going to look that much better?
Yes.
I don't think that's the case. I think it was it's all an NBC thing. NBC has given up on sports.
Yeah.
And they just kind of faded down the stretch. And I actually think it's the opposite. I think NBC kind of gave them an FU on their way out the door, which is pathetic. But I don't know the ins and outs. So I do sports talk, Dave. I just guess sometimes because it sounds good. What do I know?
Why not?
Right. And this is probably a no. This will be one of the charms of ESPN is that no, Stephen A is not going to learn how to pronounce a lot of the names. He'll have fun with it. And you shouldn't get mad about it. Yeah. By the way, Alex jumps in. We should mention the fact that TNT and TBS are pretty good at covering sports, yeah. NBA. Dave, do you think they do a good job on baseball? Or is it not even recognizable one way or the other?
I haven't.
You don't watch enough?
No, I watch, but I don't. I don't care what the broadcast teams are doing. What do I'm watching the game. I don't need I've never needed a broadcast team to heighten the experience. Now, sometimes you get an occasional great broadcaster, and that can do it. But most of them are just, okay, they're doing a game.
See, Mark and LV, this is the point of Jeremy Roenick. He says, I got to say, ESPN better get a deal done with Catherine Tappan. She's a smoke show. No, that started the problems in the first place. Okay, that's why Roenick's not doing hockey right now, because he started talking about Catherine Tappan and trading spouses and whatever. Get that out of your mind, please. It's a whole new era. We don't do that. All right, up next.
I hope they take Eddie Olczyk along wherever.
Oh yeah,
he's great.
I do like Catherine Tappan. I think she should go, and Olczyk's very good. Yep. And I would think, Olczyk would be up for grabs, because Olczyk, I have no idea what NBC's contract is with the horse racing. I don't know if that ends soon too, because it seems like they're going away from some of their sports. So I know wherever Olczyk goes, Dave, he's going to have to cover horse racing too, because he's dynamite doing that.
Yep.
So he'll want to be on board. All right. So what do we start off with baseball tonight? Do we go back? Last week you threw it out there. Who's more popular with the fans? Who are you wowed by more, Ohtani or Tatis? No, we'll go back to what happened to Ohtani on Wednesday, because that was a disaster on many fronts. But tonight,
his mechanics got completely out of whack. Yeah. And a great job by Mark Gubiza, the Angels broadcast team, visually showing what was happening, particularly with his slider delivery. It was outstanding. And then Ohtani went back to being Ohtani tonight. Hits 2 home runs, and then in the 9th inning, steals a base and scores the winning run on a play in which I'll say maybe 10% of Major League players could score. Most wouldn't have even been allowed to make the turn from third base and try to score. He's fast, man. He's must-see TV. He's the most entertaining player I've seen in a long time.
I would have to agree. I wasn't a fan, and I don't think it was his fault last year. After when they restarted in the middle of July or late July, whatever, and it wasn't his fault. It was how the Angels were using him. I actually wrote a column for Gaming Today about that, how it wasn't going to last, and sure enough, like I don't know, 2 weeks later, that he was on. He had gotten injured. He just kind of wear and tear, but what he's doing this year and how he's handled is just. It's hard not to root for this kid. He is phenomenal. Oh, I mean, what has he got? 32 home runs. Where's he at with home runs? 30 home runs. And 30 home runs, and his ERA is like less than 2.60.
He's also got 12 stolen bases.
Yeah.
I mean, just
you've heard of 5-tool players? He's like a 10-tool player.
Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. Tatis is good.
Tatis
is good, but
and I would not. Look, from a handicapping standpoint and from every other evaluation standpoint, 2020 didn't exist. They played 56 games. It was just the weirdest thing of all time. They only played teams their own division and their cross division in the other league. Players weren't in shape. I mean, it's just 2020 was just nothing.
No, but I wasn't judging him in terms of the season. It was how, like I said, it was how the Angels came out and decided to use him and DHing him every single day or whatever it was. I can't even remember but I know I wrote the column in as far as just the overuse and how it wasn't going to last, and he was not going to get enough rest and recovery, and it proved to be right. But how they've learned their lesson and he's pulling it off this year is absolutely phenomenal in a season that's going to be full slate. And I mean, what he's doing is damn near unheard of. And I mean,
not damn near. It's never happened before. Never. I mean, well, okay.
95 years ago.
Yeah.
98.
98. It's actually 100. It's 100 years ago because Ruth had stopped pitching by I think 19 was his last year pitching.
I'm gonna have to look it up. Was it 24 or 25? It was 19 or 20. You're right. It probably is 100 years. Yeah.
And we've never seen this before.
Yeah,
he's a lock for the AL MVP as of today.
Yeah.
And not to take away from Guerrero, who's been great. He hit another one tonight, but he wouldn't be unanimous because there'd be some Guerrero votes. But if they held the MVP voting for the first half of the season, if there was a vote for that, Ohtani would run away with it.
Dave, I told you last week, I think it was, probably last Friday, last Thursday, Guerrero was actually the favorite at even money, and Ohtani was plus 110, which we both were like, what are you talking about? Come on.
Somebody commenting on Rendon. He's starting to get it together. He's starting to have better at-bats. So that's a good sign.
It's crazy, though. I was just looking up his salary. He's making $27.5 million, Rendon. He's looking up at Ohtani, who's got 30 homers and 66 RBI and 12 steals, and Rendon has 5 homers and 33 RBI.
Yeah,
talk about lighting a fire under your ass. Like, come on, dude. The thing is, when you look at their lineup, you're like, okay, well, first of all, the Orioles suck, so they got to win all these games. But they were actually sputtering a bit before the big comeback against the Yankees, and you look at the rest of the team, you're like, again, I don't know how they're 500. Juan Lagares, Stassi, Gosselin's getting playing time. Fletcher's okay. Like, this is not a good team. And that's another reason, the fact that they're near 500, that Ohtani has to be the MVP.
Well, and their pitching, it sure isn't good.
Nope.
Okay, the bullpen stinks. The fact they're in the race. I mean, they're in the race for a playoff spot as of now. They're right near 500. Trout's coming back right after the All-Star break. And they're going to buy. They're going to go out. This will be a team that will be looking to add something that helps at the deadline. Why not? It's just like we're talking about with the hockey. Just get to the playoffs. Anything can happen at that point.
Yeah, Dave was right on Babe Ruth. 1919, his pitching started to decline a little bit in terms of action. He had a 2.97 ERA, and that was his first full year of hitting, and he went 29 and 113 and hit 322. And then after that, forget it. It was like 54 home runs, 59 home runs. Ohtani's so good, I think Ohtani could be a 50 home run hitter multiple times in his career.
Yep. He could do he could do a 50-30 this year. He's got a really good shot for 50 homers, and he's got to keep running. He's running more now. They're giving him more free reign of the bases. He's up to 12 now, and he ain't going to slow down.
Can you imagine a 50-30 season with 150 strikeouts pitching? Like what? It was interesting. Will, you know Josh Towers, right? Because he was doing some UNLV stuff and pitched with the Orioles and the Blue Jays. And I asked Josh on the air this week. I was like, "Hey, should they just make him a hitter?" And he was like, "No, actually." He's like, "They should leave him pitching as well." He said there have been many guys, not the level of Ohtani, but he said there's been many guys over the years who should have been allowed to do both. And there's guys on the way who could also do both.
Yeah,
is that crazy?
I agree with him.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, most guys can't do both because their bodies will break down, or they're just. But Ohtani is unique. He's just a totally unique guy.
And I think
I like his attitude. I mean, he comes out the post game interview tonight, and basically the first thing out of his mouth is, he's thanking his teammates for picking him up after his bad game at Yankee Stadium. You can't. I don't know how you cannot root for him. You don't have to be an Angels fan, but you got to root for this guy. He's a blast to watch, and he seems like a real nice guy too.
Yeah, I don't think you take the bat out of his hand. And I don't think you take the ball out of his hand either. I think you leave. Right now, it's not broke, so don't fix it. And it's working. Again, I go back to last year. It's trial by error. They learned last year how not to do it in using him in both ways, and now they're doing it properly. He's hitting on the proper days. He's getting the right recovery. He's probably getting the right treatment, and he's producing at both. In both roles. So I mean, there's no reason to stop from what's going on. And when Trout comes back, that's just going to bolster the lineup. It's going to relieve some pressure. So if he does hit any sort of low, as a lot of hitters do, you'd expect Trout to come in hungry. So I think you leave it as is.
Middle of their order is going to be pretty good with Ohtani, Trout. I think Rendon will come on. And Walsh has had, he has had a breakout season. He's just a really good player. Iglesias contributing nicely at shortstop. I think he hit another homer tonight, and he's a very good shortstop. If the king had balls or the queen had balls, she'd be the king.
By the way, without question mark, Dave was asking last week who's more fun to watch, Ohtani or Tatis. I mean, it's close, but Dave's an Ohtani guy.
Yeah, and that's not taken away from Tatis because I love watching him too, but Ohtani right now is he's on another level.
All right, we worried about anyone in baseball? I mean, are the Yankees what they are, or can they get out of this with some sort of trade?
No, it's going to take more than a trade.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why is everybody still talking about them? They're 2 games over 500.
The Yankees.
The Yankees.
So what?
They have a $215 million payroll. Why don't we talk about the Knicks? We talk about the goddamn Knicks every year with 24 wins. You're right. I'm a Yankee fan, so that's why I'm interested.
I know, but they're not that good.
They're a 500 team.
They're not terrible or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you look at their roster, that's not a championship level team.
Well, not the way Torres is playing, not without Kluber. If Tyon had a rebirth in the second half, showing some signs, Chapman's got to get it together. They have a chance. So I think the problem
out of the race.
Yeah, but the problem is they put themselves behind the 8 ball, and I'm going to say it for 50 millionth time. Now, I will say there's an addendum here. They put themselves behind the 8 ball by going with the ragtag staff of, hey, this guy can bounce back. Hopefully he stays healthy. I will say, I did scream and yell the last couple of months about don't allow Trevor Bauer to go to the Dodgers. Oops. This thing. Did you guys read the details?
Mm-mm.
Oh boy. He is
I think I heard the details on either your show or
he get cleared. We didn't read them.
No,
this is one of the first times ever on air I was like, yeah, this is too graphic for terrestrial radio. I can't do this. But I said he's in a lot of trouble. He's on the shelf for 7 days. He ain't going to be cleared in 7 days. I mean, it's the dude, whether he's into it long term, and I would assume he's done this before, and maybe he crossed the line in this case and hasn't before, but he's into sadomasochism, and I mean, he beat the shit out of her, and if that's what she's into, it's not my business. But whatever, he went too far, according to the police report. And here's the problem: the first thing I thought of today is he's in trouble for this, and then what happens? I mean, if you're a rich guy and you're going to Instagram or whatever social media, Dave, and you're picking up chicks, and with sadomasochistic, and you're knocking them around, is this the first time you did it? If not, if you've been with other women, then like Deshaun Watson, you don't think any of them are coming forward soon?
Oh, well, you can bank on that.
And then all bets are off. Like, that's the end of the season for him.
End of the season. It might be the end of his career.
Well, I'm just at a minimum, it's the end of the season. I mean, right now we don't know what's going. I mean, Deshaun Watson, getting hand jobs, and I don't know if he sexually assaulted women in his case. That's one thing, but you're giving a woman a concussion, freaking forced sodomy. She said she woke up. He's on top of her. I'm not, and again, Willie, I'm not trying to minimize it, because this case alone is really serious. But if a couple more women come forward, I don't know. It's crazy. And I don't want to jump to conclusions, but again, whatever. I don't want to pass judgment, but with athletes like making this kind of living, to get that comfortable and not assess risk is pretty amazing.
Especially for a guy who's really intelligent. I mean, Bauer's no dope. It's just bizarre. He's kind of a strange guy, isn't he?
I think it might have been Tyler and Ed that talked about it then, but I don't think they got into detail. They just said that they were talking about that, that he's saying that the woman said it was consensual to have rough sex and whatever it was. So I haven't read the details. I think it was this morning when I heard them talking about it. And obviously I've been getting ready for this trip, so I didn't read the details, but yeah, I mean, if you're picking up strange women off social media and then engaging in this type of activity, I mean, and you're a high profile athlete on top of that, it's bound to, and now it's gotten to this point, like you said, there could be, and I say this with the utmost respect for women, and I say this with the utmost respect for victims, is that you also have to wonder that if this is out here and we're talking about a millionaire athlete, if there are women in the past who, let's just say, were consensual, but at the same token, sort of may felt rejected or they felt used, but they did consent. But now the door is open.
Well, look, it's this simple. We don't know what's going to happen, but the Pasadena Police Department, whoever it was that made the statement,
that's it.
The investigation is not close to the end. I'm quoting here. We were looking into some things and we thought we were nearing the end. We are not close to the end. This investigation is bigger than we thought. So we have to look at a few more places. We want to try and cover as much stuff as we can. I mean, I'm not a legal expert. I don't want to pretend to anybody that I have any legal expertise whatsoever. You have someone that you do the show with that has legal expertise. So I'll just offer an unsubstantiated and strictly layman's opinion. I think he's going to end up getting arrested.
It's very possible. That's very possible.
It sounds like it to me. It sounds like he's heading in that direction. So my guess is we've probably seen the last of Trevor Bauer for this season. I think I would. Yeah. That's my. And again, don't hold me up on this because again, I'm not an expert on it. But this sounds like they ain't going to see him for the rest of this year, and who knows after that. So not good for the Dodgers. That's for sure.
No.
All of a sudden, the discussion on whether Trevor Bauer is using sticky substances on the back burner. Yeah.
Right. Allegations include, she says, Bauer punching her in the face, vagina, buttocks, sticking his fingers down her throat, strangling her to the point where she lost consciousness multiple times. Second encounter included 2 black eyes, a bloody swollen lip, significant bruising and scratching one side of her face. And then there was significant head and facial trauma, and that there were signs of basilar skull fracture.
Oof.
And
That's
said it
not
was
good.
she said it was consensual, but at one point she was choked out, she's unconscious, and then she wakes up and she finds him poking her in the keister. So yeah, he said, she said. Bauer's attorney came back. He's like, this is defamatory. It was all consensual. She's leaving out a bunch of important facts. So I don't know, but that's not a 5-day investigation.
I'm not a legal expert, but I think if you, regardless of whether it's consensual, I think if you punch somebody in the face, it's still an assault.
Well,
I mean,
even if it's consensual, and let's go beyond that, okay? If it regardless of all the shit that you just mentioned, consensual. The one thing is, you said fractured her fucking skull.
Yeah.
That's fucking. That's not consensual. She didn't say
right.
Now, hey, I don't know this. I've never had a woman tell me punch me in the face, but
no,
there are some women. I see social media. I see shit that's retweeted on my timeline in the middle of the night. I see shit on Instagram where women post memes of with men strangling in a sensual manner or choking them but not choking them out. So my point is, there are people that like that, but nobody's saying fracture my skull. There's no one saying fracture my skull, so that's fucking criminal.
I know some people like it. I will tell you a story. This is a true story from probably would have been maybe 1990 or 91, and I picked up this girl. And she says, "You want to go to a party?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So she's okay. So we drive in. You know the gated community right by where the Starboard Tack was?
Yes.
On the west side of town. I forget what it's named.
That
was one of the fancier gated communities.
Elvis's guy. What was his name? He lived in there. Tom,
right.
Something Tom or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Colonel Tom. That's it.
Right. Really nice. Okay. Yeah. So we drive through, and we pull up to a house and get out of the car, go to So we're greeted at the door by this extremely large guy. I mean, he was a big dude, and he sounded like Alfred Hitchcock. He was, "Good evening," good evening to you too. So we walk in, and I'm in there for like, I don't know, 20 seconds, and I'm hearing whack. The house. So we go into this room, and there's this girl. She's tied to a pole, and guys are going up and slamming her in the ass with some kind of I don't know, it was not a belt, but some kind of, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here? I had never been to an S&M party. I had no interest in it. I didn't know I was going to one. And I still remember the chick. She's a little strawberry blonde. I don't remember her name. She's cute. She looks up at me and she licks her lips and she goes, "Isn't this exciting?" And it's like, well, I don't think I'm going to stick around. You want to go? And she said, "No, I'll stay here." So it's like, okay. And was greeted again by the big dude at the door on the way out who said, "Good night." And I was out of there. So the reason I bring that up is because this behavior does exist, but you still, consensual or not, you still can't go too far with it.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes criminal. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but they're looking at this pretty closely. It sounds to me like they're looking to press charges against Bauer, and it's not going to matter whether it was consensual or not. You know, if you go to bed with a 15-year-old girl, it might be consensual. It's still rape.
Yeah. Well, you can't be fracturing skulls in the middle of S&M. It's kind of those parties, those events. It's kind of like, it reminds me of that show, that first season. They really introduced you to what's his name, Giamatti's character in Billions, right? And he plays the.
It's immediately what I thought of. Now he's on the other side. He's not the aggressor.
No, he loves to. He likes the dominatrix.
He gets the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah,
he's hiding. He's got to hide that whole existence. And actually, it's his wife is into it too. So well, kind of X now. I haven't watched it. Don't spoil the next season and a half. I got to get back on it.
I stopped. I think I got through 2.5, 3 seasons. I haven't watched it since.
You know,
go ahead.
Yeah, not good.
No, I've been watching some for my 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. cardio. I just got done watching the Friday Night Lights series. I was never intrigued.
Oh, that was good. I actually, hey, you found something I watched. I didn't like it.
Yeah?
I don't know why I kept on watching it because
Yeah.
it was like, this is stupid.
Which one?
It was
Which
gonna,
one?
The series. The
Friday Night
movie,
Lights?
I liked the movie was
okay,
quite
the
good,
series.
but the series was just, and it was typical. They had run out of ideas 3 weeks in, and they just started pulling out these ridiculous plot lines, and it's like, okay.
So, Willie,
I kept watching it, which was stupid on my part.
let me break in for a second, and I'll throw it at Dave because Dave just actually answered. I had a question tonight, and I want the audience to answer this too. I saw someone on Twitter post a question. Tell me a show. Well, yeah, a show, right? Tell me a show that everyone loves that you've tried and you just don't get it at all. And in this case, in this case, this person said Doctor Who. I've heard people say they don't like The Sopranos. I've heard people say they never got Seinfeld. Like, we had a bunch of people on Lotus who didn't. Well, one of them was, I think it was John Hansen, who I never got John. But everyone has shows where you're like, man, I watched it. I don't get what the rage is about. So you said Ozark?
I didn't get past episode 4, and the star of that show is married to my cousin. So I mean, I like Jason Bateman. I just couldn't get into it. It took me 4 attempts to watch The Office, and then after it, I was like, okay, that was cool. I got through it once, but I'll never watch it again. Yeah, it didn't overwhelm me. The shows that I've watched from start to finish multiple times I think there's only 2 that I've actually watched from start to finish, and I could do it again, no problem. And that's The Sopranos and Californication with David Duchovny.
And you know what? I'm not going to say I haven't gotten into Californication. I just haven't tried it. I got to try it.
I've never seen that. I enjoyed
Fantastic.
I enjoyed the first maybe 2 years of The Wire.
I'm on The Wire now. I just started The Wire.
And then that started to wear out.
It started really.
I just
to me, it
started
did. I
that.
thought it's okay.
Oh my god!
Once it starts getting predictable, it's like, okay, I know what's going to happen next.
Wow.
And there's some that I've tried, and just it's like, this is not good. The Perry Mason thing they brought back on HBO.
You didn't like it, right?
I made it through about a half an hour of the first episode and said, that's it for that.
Yeah.
What was one that got a lot of attention? Oh, gee, I'm blanking out on it now.
I was into Ray
It'll come to
Donovan
me.
for a long time, and then
I didn't like that.
I died off after I think 5 or 6. Didn't finish Ray Donovan. Weeds, remember Weeds with. I got through that one.
Was that
just
Nick Nolte?
No.
Or was he in the
that
movie?
Weeds was with what's her name? Mary. I can't think of her name.
Look at this.
Okay,
I just watched all 5 seasons of The Wire again.
What I will watch are Ken Burns documentaries.
All right.
I finally got around to watching his 3-part documentary series on Prohibition. It's just great. He's the best documentary. He is absolutely. Obviously the first thing I found from Ken Burns was his baseball doc, which was great. And I've seen a lot of his other stuff, and he's just as good as it gets.
I told everyone about the country music documentary, Dave. Even if you don't like country music, to learn about country music is pretty interesting. It's really good. That was done by Ken Burns.
Well, I'm not a fan of country music, but it doesn't matter. I don't have to be a fan of something to enjoy a good film about it.
I think it almost makes it better when you don't know a whole lot about the topic and you're not a fan of the topic, and you're like, oh, it's really enlightening.
I'll have to watch it. I haven't seen
What's that on? What's that on?
PBS, same thing. Ken Burns on PBS. You can I think PBS subscription's like $5 a month.
Yeah, it is.
And you can get all of Ken Burns documentaries. One of the cool things you can get is Frontline is their news show.
Yep.
They don't do a great job archiving it, but what I'm saying is, like, they list Frontline back to like 83, and I'm like, fuck, I want to watch this in the 80s. They only have a couple episodes, but like once the 2000s start, you can watch different episodes like for the last 20 years of Frontline, which, come on, you know, the stuff that you see in the early 2000s, you're like, oh, yeah, there you go. That's why you know, what's going on is happening now.
It's the best deal around too, because if you mentioned the dollar amount, you can donate as little as $5 a month.
Yeah.
And you don't even know you're doing it. You just sign up for the automatic payment, and that accesses you to everything they've got.
Good.
It's terrific, and obviously the money's going to PBS, and that's a good thing.
I wouldn't mind checking out the country music just because, you know, growing up and sort of just loving different kinds of music, right? Obviously, in old school Vegas, and then, you know, being a DJ, that was one of the things that I've told this story on here. You know, when I was DJing at State Street, and then the owner put me in mobile gigs, and because I was so into hip hop at that time, I was 18, and that was the hip hop craze was coming on. So he'd stick me at weddings that requested old school rock or wedding type music or country music, so I'd have to learn it. So to watch stuff like that would be kind of cool. And on the flip side of that, if nobody's into, if you want to learn the evolution, this is what it's called, but there's 4 seasons on Netflix called The Evolution of Hip Hop. And the reason I appreciate that one is because they take you to the different cities, and you learn about who the pioneers were. I mean, 52 years old and coming through the, you know, some of the original days of hip hop, I had no clue how deep rooted Pharrell was with a lot of hip hop artists. I had no clue. And so, I mean, I'm waiting for season 5, and I'm also waiting for them to come do Vegas, because a lot of the guys that we DJ'd with and whatever, they should be in that documentary. So
you'll find out in the country music documentary, just like in rock and roll and just like in hip hop, there's this constant new versions of it get introduced. And then there's the old guard. It's like, this is bullshit. I want my old country. I want my old rock and roll. I want my old hip hop. And it's this constant war in country music about, you know, newer people, more popular people, different styles. It's really fascinating. I got to the two people that stand out the most, where you're like, my God, that person was a renegade. They're super impressive. Johnny Cash comes off like wonderfully, because Johnny Cash was treated like shit by a lot of country fans for a long, like, people don't think that, but watch it. And the other one is, I did not know what a brilliant guy and songwriter, and his background as well. I didn't know a whole lot about Chris Christopherson, but what a freaking smart. He just turned 85.
He's a Rhodes Scholar.
That I didn't know. He's a Rhodes Scholar, came from a highly decorated military family, was highly decorated. He was a helicopter pilot, and was just like, I'm out. And his family's like, this is, you know, they basically disowned him. And then he turned out to be, like, as you said, he's a poet writing music. Brilliant guy. Holy shit.
And who doesn't love the movie Convoy with Chris Christopherson and Ali McGraw? Come on now.
Yes.
What about
the rubber duck?
Yeah. But that's the thing, is like, I like growing up, I was like, who is it? I've seen him sing a little bit. He's not like a great singer, great songwriter. But I saw him in movies, and I'm like, oh, he's just some actor, like hippie looking actor. And then you find out who he is. You're like, oh my God, everyone in country music thinks this guy's super brilliant. So,
by the way, you mentioned Johnny Cash, and he was actually in one of my favorite episodes of Columbo. He played the murderer.
Oh, really?
Yep. And he played a singing televangelist, I guess you could say. You know, they did, you know, it was a big religious thing, and where he sang, and he murdered his wife. Columbo got him.
I have a series for you guys, and if it comes on, and I can't remember the station that shows it, I want to say it's on Cox. It's channel 97. Is it Decades? Is there a channel called Decades? I think it's Decades.
There is.
They will occasionally show it twice a year. I think it's only 3 seasons, but the original Vegas with Dan Tana.
Oh, there you go.
I have it set to record every time it comes, and now I have the full series, and it's only 3 seasons long.
What, Robert Urich?
Yeah. And my uncle's joint Jubilation is in the pilot.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so it's kind of cool to watch him pull up to the front, and then he takes the date in the back and they have dinner in the back in the kitchen. And what's great is I can see my grandfather's office in the distance. It was kind of cool. But Vegas was Vegas for me. I think I've said this on here before. Is I could put that on one day. Let's say I'm going to clean in one day. Or I'm doing laundry. I'm going to be home for 5-6 hours, puttering around. I'll put that on and just let episode run after run. And I don't care if I miss a scene. It's just catching the old scenery of Vegas.
Course, yeah.
That's what I love.
So, Gemma says Decades is channel 99 on Cox.
That's it. There's my Vegas partner right there. When it comes on, Jimmy and I, we message each other or we tweet it to one another or we direct message it. Jimmy knows when Vegas is on too.
There you go. Only Bet the Plus says I had to watch PBS's Punishment in early 2000s. So
and real quick too, let me jump back. There were a couple of comments. So Ricky, I will try to get into Ozark. He said that I should just give it another shot. And then someone else, Alex, I was wondering about Cobra Kai too, and I actually did enjoy it. And the reason I'm enjoying is because I'm enjoying watching Ralph Macchio overact at his older age, because I think that the older guys look like clowns and the kids are holding it together. But I do kind of get a kick out of the new Cobra Kai. So yes, I have watched Cobra Kai and I'm waiting for that new season.
By the way,
I'll try Ozark, Ricky.
You know that there's a characters at the dealership, Cousin Louie, right?
Yeah.
Louis. He was actually on our he was on our podcast 2 Mondays ago. He's a comedian. He does he's got a residency at, I'm pointing at the Strat. He does 2 nights a week, the Strat. He just played the South Point. Pretty funny guy. Guy. Yeah, he was on a couple weeks ago, and he's a good sports fan too. He's fired up. He's doing some podcasts. So yeah, John, he's the greatest character on TV.
He screwed him over, and then he came back to the dealership. Right? Is that, if I'm not mistaken? He
went to the other side. Went to the evil side. So I wanted to close on this. It's not the lightest thing. You guys might not have any opinion. Yeah, Nick, it's Brett Ernst was he's Cousin Louie, so he's at Strat on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, and he's friends with our old buddy Chuck Ojeda, who was at ESPN.
Oh.
1100, yeah. So they're doing a podcast together, and really humble guy.
Chuck's back at Lotus.
He's not at Lotus. He's in town. He's doing voiceover work, and
okay.
He's doing some different stuff. And I'll tell you the best part. If anyone missed the podcast, it's up on YouTube. The best part is towards the end. Willie would have actually loved this. Brett started talking about classic movies and TV shows, and he got fucking crazy about Rocky. And like how brilliant Rocky was and how brilliant Rocky 4 was, and was like quoting scenes and just like the excellent writing, the relationship with Paulie and, whatever her name is, Adrian, Talia Shire and Stallone. But just watching him get that worked up about, because he does a lot of acting. And we started talking about, what's his name? Jon Favreau and the Star Wars thing, saving the franchise and Mandalorian. It was good inside stuff. And like you start talking to someone who's really passionate about something, man, he was fired up, really fired up. Ooh, so where do I go to close here? Yeah, you know what I'm going to do?
You said it was something that wasn't.
Well, no, I wanted to mention that because especially Dave. So Dave, what do we do with this lady? You saw the sprinter who tested positive for marijuana?
Yeah.
U.S. sprinter. And basically, it's like, hey, that's stupid to test for that, but it is the rule. I kind of wonder where you fall, because I'll tell you the other thing. Doug Gottlieb tweeted something out, and he said, marijuana test isn't a drug test. It's an IQ test.
Well, I mean, my feelings on it are this. I think it's ridiculous. But, change the rule. It's 2021. Wake up. Stop living in the dark ages. It's ridiculous. There should be no marijuana testing. It's that simple. As far as what to do with her, I don't know. I mean, if you let her run, then you're basically saying, okay, the rule's stupid, and we're just going to let her run. I don't have a problem with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it is utterly ridiculous.
Of course.
And to deny somebody the chance to perform because they smoked pot. It's not a performance enhancer, okay?
Right.
So, I mean, if it's steroids or something like that, well, that's different. If it's a harder drug, well, if it's a harder drug, I mean, Martin says if it's meth, I got to tell you, if it's meth, she's not qualifying with the Olympic team anyway.
Right.
Okay, she's just sitting in a room someplace ruining her life. But pot, I mean, this is archaic thinking. It's just, quite frankly, it's ridiculous we haven't just federally legalized it.
Of course. I mean, the arrest pop of Alex Caruso, a couple weeks ago in Texas, and that's stupid.
I mean, wake up, Texas. That's just dumb. I don't care. And I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. There's right and there's wrong. And the way they're still carrying on in Texas is just plain wrong. It's also stupid.
I did not understand this joke. I guess Truth was watching. She must have been doing an interview on ESPN, and I guess her smoke detectors were going off. The battery was the stupid chirp. So,
oh man, I hate that chirp.
Well, it's the worst.
Well, Willie, let me ask you this, because I think Willie is going to have a good opinion on this one. Her explanation, I don't have the exact reason, but the explanation was something that happened recently. She was having a tough time, and she smoked weed to kind of chill out and relax, right? And going back to what,
by the way, is what most of us who indulge do it for.
Right. And going back to what Gottlieb said, there are people now, as we found out over the years, that they do need it to manage certain ailments, to manage depression, to manage, an up and down nature, whatever is.
But cancer patients. I mean, it stops you from throwing up all the time.
Right.
That seems like a pretty good thing, huh?
Well, in the case of a current day high level athlete, I think the good case to look at is Randy Gregory, who's been in and out of the NFL, and Randy Gregory is diagnosed bipolar, and he says, "Hey, this is what regulates me. I need to use it." And at some point, and I think this is why am I blanking on David Irving, right, from the Raiders? At some point, people will have to make a decision, like what's more important, working in that field or making sure that I'm happy and balanced. And that's why the Gottlieb statement, like the simplicity, the simpleton nature of it's an intelligent test. Come on, dude, think a little bit. That's not why everyone smokes weed just to get a high. I
don't even get high from it. I stop. I don't smoke it to get a buzz. For me, it's better than having cocktails. I don't have to worry about a hangover. From a health standpoint, I'm not rotting my liver, and I just use it to relax and go to sleep at night. And now, look, to me, there should be severe penalties if you drive under the influence. Okay, you don't drive as well with marijuana in your system. And I have no problem with harsh punishment. Should be treated like a DUI. But aside from that, I mean, if you're going to weigh the evils versus the pros, or the cons versus the pros, marijuana is significantly less harmful than booze. It just is. That's not even an opinion. That's just a fact.
Dave, you were saying earlier that you don't get high. You use flour? What do you use? You use edibles?
No, I get a really mild
vape pen?
No. I still roll them and smoke them.
Yeah.
But I don't. What I get is, it's not exactly strong.
Right.
Because I'm not looking to get wrecked. Those days are gone for me. When you're younger, I understand it. I got high a lot of times when I was young. But now it's just take the edge off and get to sleep after a reasonable amount of time in bed, because otherwise I'm one of those people who just I'll stay up all night.
I've heard that I've heard that from a ton of people who have trouble sleeping.
Yep, I've never been a great sleeper, and this helps, and it allows me to set the alarm for like 8 or 8:30 in the morning, so I can get up and get right to work with my baseball numbers. I get my prelim stuff the night before, but I want to get especially since you're selling picks, you want the games out at lines that are widely available. Well, I don't want to be up until 4 o'clock in the morning,
right,
and then have trouble getting up. I'd rather be asleep by 1 or 2, and by the way, I get a much better sleep with that small amount of pot in my system than I ever got with booze. Booze, like, okay, I better make sure I take a couple of Advil so I'm not hungover in the morning, and I better pop a couple of Tums so I don't have an upset stomach. I don't have to do that with this stuff.
Yep.
So, I don't know exactly what to do about the Olympic athlete, but to me, it should be one of those things where the Olympians as a group say, you know what, this is dumb.
Yep.
We want to change now. Okay, what we do, that's it. Change it.
Yeah, I'm in very large part very anti-IOC and kind of anti-Olympics. I mean, if the athletes want to go there, but because I can already see what's coming. There's going to be a bunch of discord. There's going to be a bunch of protest, which I'm fine with. The IOC is going to be a bunch of fucking stiffs as they always
They're a
are.
bunch of assholes.
And it's such a disgusting profiteering bullshit event. Japan doesn't want it. The people of Japan are scared shitless about COVID. You have all these people coming in. They don't want outsiders coming in. It's just, and the IOC's history. I mean, going back. You want to talk? You talking about Babe Ruth going back to 1919? Obviously, going back to freaking 1936 and before that. And
Avery Brundage.
It's so gross.
Avery Brundage was the head guy for forever, and he's not a good human being. Okay.
And then these are the same assholes who are like, "You're a bad person if you're using marijuana." Okay.
Here's the other dumb thing with the IOC. Now they have put a ban into effect for the Olympic Games. No protesting allowed. Guess what's going to happen? If they hadn't done this, there probably wouldn't be much protesting. I will guarantee you now, you can take the over on this. If there's a over and under wager on number of protests that take place, it's going way over. You know why? Because they banned it. So now they're going to get people who probably wouldn't have protested at all are just going to give it up right there. Okay, I can do whatever I want. They're going to protest.
I hope our Olympic men's team, I hope our NBA team going there starts with some protest early on. Boot them. See what happens. Boot them.
They won't have the balls. They won't have the balls to do that.
Kick them out.
And that's the other thing. They won't.
I hope they do. That'd be great. I hope they do.
If they do, could be the end of a lot of great athletes participating in the Olympics. Because I can guarantee the basketball team at that point will say, well, that's it. We're done. Goodbye. Yeah. And they'll never go back. By the way, anybody could actually watch the Olympics outside of maybe the basketball?
I will. I like a lot of the offbeat events, and there's a lot of late night events because it's in Japan. I'll watch it, and I will watch the basketball. And
I'll watch the basketball.
Von Tobel was joking today. He's like, I don't look for water polo, but if it's on, I'll watch it.
Well, I guess because I watched
the women's soccer.
I actually like curling when it comes on every 4 years in the Winter Olympics. I don't want to see it every week, but once every 4 years, it's like, this is pretty cool. And I actually do smoke a little more pot on those nights.
Okay, there you go.
That actually is a sport that if you watch it,
just kind of chill out.
It's really good. Yeah. You start getting into this, even though you know nothing about what's going on, which I don't with curling. You really start to get into the strategy of it. It becomes like engrossing, and it's like cool.
So you said earlier, from my opinion, I saw a tweet earlier that I 100% relate to, and I can't remember who it was. A pro athlete, first name Cam. I can't think of the guy's last name, but he had said that he woke up to or he prepared for practice with Vicodin and Tramadol every single day before practice. Now, I'll take you back 2007 when I got married and got health insurance, killer health insurance, and I went to every specialist just to get everything checked out. And my knees, I went to the physical therapist, and they said, Willie, you really don't have anything wrong with your knees. You just have degenerative meniscus. I actually yesterday had an MRI on my right knee to get something checked out, but neither here nor there. I had this chronic pain in my knee, and the doctor at the time prescribed me Loratab. He prescribed me Xanax for anxiety, Loratab for the pain. And I would say for a good 5-6 years, the Xanax I was immediately off of. I was like, this is bullshit. It's knocking me out. I can't do it. But the Loratab, it's just like, I think I always compare it because it was around that time, or it was shortly after when Brett Favre unexpected, like he involuntarily got hooked on Vicodin for his pain. It turned out that I was uncontrollably just popping, I'd have supplements, vitamins, or whatever I was, multis, whatever I was taking throughout the day. I knew I'd have a timer at 1 o'clock, so whatever, and I'd throw Loratab in. And it just became to where I was just taking Loratab routine, and not 3 a day, I was taking 5, 6 of them. Wasn't addicted to them where I on need of it, but I was just popping them. And I finally told, when he retired, or excuse me, the year he was retiring, I told him, I said, Peter, I want you to type it into my file so it never goes away. Do not prescribe narcotics. Do not prescribe any kind of, I will just start smoking weed again. I'll go back to my, and it's been in there. I've been to the hospital for some stomach issues. I've been in the hospital with pain. When I went in there last March with COVID, all that, and do you want anything I said, nope. I don't want nothing for the pain. The only time, and it was prior to telling Peter to take me off of the doctor who retired eventually, I had Dilaudid, and it was the only other thing besides Loratab. But the pain pills are so bad. Opioids are so fucking bad. So when I saw that today, that tweet, I was like, this dude, here's a pro athlete that's telling you that he's going out on the field on Vicodin and Tramadol just to get out of bed in the morning, just to get to practice in the morning. Where weed is just an herb, and I have a mason jar, a big mason jar full of THC coconut oil. That same thing is like Dave said. When I get home at night, if I'm shut, today would have been one of those nights if I wasn't coming on this show. When I got home from the gym, from the Perfect Gym, I would have cooked my post-workout meal in that oil rather than olive oil. And in about 2 hours after consuming that, I'd have been knocked the fuck out, and I'd be asleep and woke up at 4 o'clock with no problem.
Wow.
Because that's what it works for. It works great for me to just knock me out. When I was 18, 19, running the streets, going to Tramps, going to the Shark Club, doing this, I could smoke all night. That was my cocaine. Weed woke me up. It perked me up. I was ready to go and kick it and party. I'm the opposite now. At 52 years old, I smoke or I use the oil, and I go to bed with it. So, I will never, ever, ever fucking take. I've been offered pain pills from the hospital last year when those aches and pains from the COVID. Nope, don't want it. Don't want it. They've said, do you want it in your drip, Mr. Ramirez? Nope. Well, what are you gonna do for the pain? I'm gonna go home and smoke. I don't give a fuck. I'll tell the doctor right in the middle of the hospital. So, anyway,
and
that's
my only side effect for the pot is, thankfully, when I indulge after this evening, I have a slice of cheesecake and also a piece of tiramisu sitting in the refrigerator. Those might not last the evening.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is.
You're also blessed, Dave, with a good metabolism. So
where's the tiramisu from,
I
Dave?
know that.
You can process that stuff.
Where's the tiramisu from?
Grape Street.
Nice,
Right.
nice. I was at Roma a week and a half back, and they got the nice. I love their Eurostyle cheesecake. They use the nice cheese in there.
Good stuff. By the way, Grape Street has a really good blackened salmon. I would definitely recommend it. It's quite good.
Which Grape Street do you go to?
I actually get it delivered because I'm home. I'm watching games, but I want a good meal. So I don't. It's not like I'm not gonna run down the street to Jack in the Box or something. I'm still gonna get a good meal, get it delivered, and sit and watch the games. I believe the one they use. I don't know. I assume it's probably the one over by on Lake Mead.
Nice. All right, Dave, you're out next week, right? You're going to San Diego. You're going to Del Mar, right?
No, next week I'm good. It's the week after that.
All right, we'll see about next week because I might be out because I'm going down to Newport Beach and Willie, you're going down to California tomorrow.
Yep, going down there with Jordan. We're hitting Laguna. Going to go for a cut tomorrow and come back Monday. So it's been a long time since we've done a father-son trip. So we're going to get away. He was gone for Father's Day, so he was down in Miami. So we're going to go kick it down there, and we're taking Kahlua. So the
Yeah.
pups
Wow, road trip.
getting rid of California. Yeah.
So
He's
I
fully
will also,
vaccinated.
I will be by the time, if we don't do a show next week, and I'll be gone the week after. But by the time I do another one of these, I should have a new four-legged friend in the house.
Beautiful.
My boy Bo, he lost his battle with cancer yesterday, so he's gone. I'm going to miss that little guy. It's just a great little cat. But we're already in the process of looking at a couple of seniors who are stuck in kennels right now. So might have a new one in a couple of weeks. I'm obviously not going to get the next cat until I get back from San Diego.
Will their odds come up on Sylvester or what was the other one?
The other one, Sylvester is an 11-year-old.
And who is the other?
He's quite overweight, but he's a very, very friendly cat, and we can work on the weight. And the other one is his name, and he's been at the shelter for a long time. He might have some heart issues. They're still checking on him, but he's 10 years old, and his name is Beastie, which he does answer.
That's it, Beastie.
He answers to the name too. So if I get him, his name will stay. It's a stupid name, but if that's his name, okay, it'll stay. And if he gets cleared medically, I mean, he's going to have the heart condition evidently, but if he gets cleared medically, I think he's probably the one, because I feel bad for the little guy.
All
well, he's 10 years old. He's not in perfect health, but that means he's going to be really. Both of them are going to be tough adoptions because they're both older. And neither one is perfect,
right?
But they're both nice animals, and one of them I think one of them is going to end up here.
Beastie sounds like a slight 130 favorite over Sylvester.
Well, he probably won't cost as much to feed. I mean, it's Sylvester. Sylvester's he's a big dude.
Well,
okay?
yeah.
He was hilarious because he spent his time alternating, coming over to get pets, and then exploring all the dishes that were in the room, none of which had much in them except water, because I guess it wasn't feeding time, and he seemed rather disappointed about that.
Where is this, Dave? I don't want either one stolen from you, but we should promote whichever one you get. We should tell someone to go down and get the other one.
It's Heart of I forget what it's called. Their location is on South Rainbow, near Oki.
Yeah, it's Hearts Alive.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's what's funny is that when I was talking to you last week or the week before, and I was saying, hey, we know people. That's who we deal with.
Oh, nice people in there.
They're freaking great. What they're great with too is, and we know some other people who do this too. In neighborhoods where there's like the cat population's out of control, they do catch and release.
Oh, good.
And we had a lady on the block, an old lady, and she had like fucking 35 cats that were going in and out of her garage, and it was just unsanitary. There were a couple of dead cats in there, and they went, it was her and another house behind them, and they went and they got they caught like 33 cats and fixed them, and most of them survived. And like we even had we housed a little one that was like on death's doorstep, and we couldn't nurse it back to health, and we gave it to them to take care of, and the cat lived, and now the cat's grown nice cat. So Hearts Alive is fucking awesome.
Trap, neuter, release is actually really good because there are some cats who are better outdoors, and they'll have their own colonies. And by the way, one thing you'll never have to worry about, you ain't going to have to worry about no rats in your neighborhood.
No.
Because they will track them down. Cats get a bad name as far as the stray cats are concerned. They actually are pretty good at being pest control specialists.
Well, once they're fixed, they're okay. If they're pissing all over the place and having kittens, that's not good. But I'll tell you this.
No. They shouldn't be having kittens.
Dave, my house was so bad with pigeons, and I had an unpaved side of my house that was dirt. I mean, I had a mountain of pigeon shit that was like 3 feet high, and I had pigeons on my house, and I had guys come over, put the spikes, clean it off, and I'm telling you, it's the neighborhood cats that got rid of most of the pigeons because a couple of them are around, but we used to have like dozens and dozens of them, but we have a stray cat that goes in and out of our garage, and I know she probably runs after them, and so they're not a nuisance. You can have cats that are productive in the community.
A lot of them they'll never be good house pets.
No,
because they're feral. They don't trust humans. They don't have any desire to interact with humans. But if you can trap them and fix them, so they don't keep having babies, they're actually a good thing to have in your neighborhood.
Yep. All right, Dave's off to study his baseball. I know Willie's going to be driving to California tomorrow, and we appreciate everyone watching. Thank you, and I will say good luck with your dogs, especially this weekend with the fireworks, because it's going to be every year's getting crazier and crazier. So be careful, and if you're shooting off fireworks, man, make sure you have some water around. I watched one of my neighbors last year shoot one off into a neighbor's tree and start burning down the tree. So
Nice.
that stuff's just be careful.
Now I'm all wired up. I might have to watch another episode of The Wire. So.
Yeah.